Going live in. Da, 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 da. We're live and recording, playing in traffic. The February 27th edition with Ray Guarino from Motormouth Radio and Chassis John from Floridania. That's a Lou Santiago term.
Yeah.
Floridania.
Yep.
So, well, I guess.
Crazy, man.
So, yeah, let's talk about that. You saw Lou this week.
Yes.
I think it's cool that, like, through these, between playing in traffic and Garage Insider and Motormouth Radio, people have been meeting and connecting indiscriminately, or I guess it is kind of discriminately. And you got to meet, you got to hang out. Well, you met Lou once. You met him before, but you got to see him.
I've been to the studio too a bunch of times when he films. So
tell the story though, because it's a great story on what happened.
He was down here for a car show / auction,
right? Which
is presented by the Carlisle company.
Okay.
The Carlisle PA stuff.
Right.
So they have a big show here, and it's near the local airport. Sun and Fun. Awesome amount of cars, all kinds of displays, Mopar, tons and tons and tons of Corvettes. Yeah. Come to find out from a radio talk show that Florida has the largest population of Corvettes in the country.
Oh, okay.
Didn't know that. I would have thought California maybe, but maybe not.
We got a shitload of them up here too. I mean, Long Island is, you could spit and hit a Corvette.
Well, they were reading off all kinds of stats and based on registrations.
Right.
Florida's got more Corvettes than anyone else.
Okay.
And that part of the show was ridiculous. From like the very first year Corvettes all the way up to last year. Right. Big Mopar section, lots of really nice stuff. Lots of Fords, really, really cool Fords. There's a local guy in Clearwater, and he's got a huge collection of cars. So they had all these old pro stocks.
Oh, nice.
Dandy Dick Landy. Just Ronnie Sox. They had like four Ronnie Sox cars here.
Cool.
It was great. So anyway, they brought Lou in to kind of walk around and mingle with the people.
Right.
And to do a little bit of talking. They had a big tent set up where they had seminars. So he spoke about, what he does and what he's going to do, Garage Insider, all of that stuff. Anyway, coming in, he comes off the highway and he comes around a turn. He goes to come around that turn and he hits the brakes and he's got no brakes. Goes flying through a red light. Luckily, it was late at night, he said. And then to boot, added to that, all of a sudden he hears this horrible noise coming out of the rear end. So he limps down the block, gets to the hotel, and gets his flashlight out, and he looks around, thinking that he blew a rear brake line.
Right.
He doesn't see any brake fluid anywhere on the rear end, but he does see a puddle forming under the pinion.
Yeah.
So he goes, I got a bad pinion seal.
I'd rather have the brake fluid.
Yeah. Well, he goes around. He finds out that he's got a leak on the passenger side front wheel.
Okay.
Which turned out to be he used -3 Teflon steel braid hose, and it was a little bit too long. And it got pinched in the suspension and split. So I think when he made a turn, it maybe caught the coil spring between the coil spring and the frame or something.
Yeah.
So somehow it broke.
I worked on a guy's Camaro 2 years ago now. Nice car. He didn't build it. Somebody else did. And just by, you're always doing a look over of stuff that you're not working on. I'm like, what's with this? The brake hose had a loop and it was cracked on the top. I'm like, all right, this has to go. And then I saw what the guy did. He took the bracket, the hold down tab for the hose, and instead of attaching it to the chassis rail, like where the hole is where it's supposed to go, he drilled a hole and attached it to the upper control arm. So now the brake hose is going up and down with the upper control arm, and it fractured it. Like, you moron.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I get a phone call from him early in the morning, actually text, And he's like, I got a blown brake line and I got a leaky pinion seal, and where can I find a dash tree line?
Mm.
So I was like, oh, I got a guy. Not a problem.
Right.
I said, I'll get back in touch with you in a couple of minutes. So I called a good buddy over here, this young guy, great. He's got a great chassis shop. This guy's a real up-and-comer. Cameron Johnson Race Cars in Lakeland, Florida. Anybody out there looking to have some stuff done? I met him through some other people, and I see me in him 30 years ago.
Okay.
But this kid is way more advanced than I was at the stage he's at.
Isn't that
He's got
cool?
this beautiful shop. He's got some great guys working for him. They're doing a ton of titanium work and a lot of stainless steel. And they're building full-on, cars. And they're getting a lot of heavy hitters with no-time cars that are coming to him for upgrades and changes. And you go there, it's just absolutely awesome. He's got a beautiful shop, and they do some phenomenal work.
Nice.
And I talked to my buddy Corky over there, and he had stuff, so I sent Lou over there, and he actually took a couple of pictures of the cars that were in the shop, but he couldn't take much because they were working on a couple of secret Skunk Works no-time deals.
He posted a few of those pictures, and he said I couldn't get everything.
That's the shop, right?
Yeah, very nice.
So he did the brake line. That worked out well for him. And then he was going to drive back to the Carolinas with a leaky pinion seal.
Whoa.
And we had dinner Saturday night. And I'm like, dude, really? I go, you can come to my house. And he's like, I'll figure it out. His wife told him, you better fix that thing.
Yeah.
He wasn't gonna go more than 20 miles, and he was gonna explode the rear end.
Right.
So he came over.
Stuff a few bananas and a T-shirt in there. It'll be good. Don't worry, man.
Sawdust and oatmeal. Yeah.
Well, what happened was he came here early in the morning, and we jacked it up, started taking everything apart, and he goes to take the pinion nut off, and he wasn't sure what size socket it was.
Like an inch and an eighth or an inch and
I handed him, I think it was an inch and a 16th.
Okay.
And he went to put it on, and, naturally it didn't go on. And he takes the socket away from the nut, and the nut moved. He was like, oh.
Yeah.
He unscrewed the pinion nut by hand.
Yeah, not supposed to do that.
There was no torque on it whatsoever. So naturally what was happening is, without that nut being on tight and the yoke being inserted the right way, the pinion was moving around in the bearings, probably knife-edged everything, and it took out the seal. The seal was just totally shot.
Sure.
So we popped the seal out. The rear end's not the rear end that belongs in there. We went to the auto parts store, told them it was a 12-bolt, but they gave us a pinion seal for a car 12-bolt and not a truck 12-bolt. So luckily, we come back, measured it up. He called Tori.
Right.
And we had gotten it at Advance Auto Parts. And Tori's got a guy at Advance.
Yeah.
So literally within 5 minutes, Tori called back with the exact part number we needed.
Right.
Went back, swapped it, picked it up, hammered it right in.
Beautiful.
Locked up the nut, done.
98. We were talking about that. We were talking about that on a radio show with Chris Sunday.
Yeah.
The same thing. And I'll tell you a funny story. That's how my GTO got laid up in 1984. I was going to take the car on my honeymoon, but I started finding that on turns, I was getting a little bit of a clunking noise, and I thought the posi unit was going bad. And it got worse. It got a lot worse, where it was like jerking the car on a turn. I'm like, oh my God, this thing is shot. So I parked it and I bought another car. And it wasn't until years later that I got under there and I found out that the pinion nut was loose and the pinion. And I know what happened. Years before, my brother had borrowed the car. We had a rule, we both lived at home at the time. And who was that? Whoever's your last guy in, you got to be the first guy out, or if you had to go out, you take the other guy's car, but you bring it back. We had all these unwritten rules. So I had come home one night and saw his car was in the driveway and thought, wow, he's home early. All right. So I just parked behind him. I go to bed. I didn't know he was out with some friends. Comes home, and then it was a Saturday night. He takes my car out. I don't know that. He wakes me up Sunday morning and tells me, listen, I got to tell you something. Like, what? He says, don't go anywhere. Don't take your car anywhere. I'm like, why? He goes, because there's a little problem with it. He goes, and I'll tell you, but he's hungover. He's totally blottoed. This is summer. It's already like, 90 degrees at like 9 in the morning. And he's like, just give me a little while and I'll tell you about it. But don't go anywhere. Don't take the car. So he says to me, all right, listen, I took it out last night. We had a little bit of a problem. Like, what kind of a problem? He goes, well, your drive shaft broke. I'm like, my drive shaft broke? Like, how'd the drive shaft break? I don't know. I took off from a light and it just let go. I'm like, listen, dude. I said, it's a turbo on the car. I said, listen, who are you talking to? And ends up he was racing some guy, and literally blew the yoke apart.
Oh gosh.
So I had to go to a friend's house down the block at like 4 in the morning, take a yoke off of a rear end he had, and he was going to put it on my car. So he had to finish up this job. He had the parts. And he did. But when he did that, I said, okay, listen, the rule is you used it, you broke it, you fix it. Like, I'll sit here and drink coffee and watch you fix it. And he did. But a couple of years later, I never thought to check to see if he tightened it enough, and he didn't. And the nut walked loose. Sure. And I'll send you some pictures. When I took that rear end apart, there was carnage in there, man. It was not pretty. So anyway. That's what happened.
When we pulled the seal out of his rear end, the fluid that was pouring out of the housing, it looked like it had anti-seize mixed with it.
Oh God, yeah.
It was all silvery, there was all kinds of metal in it.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
That's nasty.
But, he put the seal in, torqued it down, put the drive shaft back on, and he says to me, he goes, I'm going to take a test drive. He goes, and if I don't come back, that means I'm going home.
Yeah.
Like,
Around the block.
So I called him hours later, and he was about an hour and a half away from home.
Good.
And he's like, dude, you wouldn't believe it. The rear end is really quiet.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm like, yeah. I said, you lap those gears,
Right. I'm getting better gas mileage. And
sure.
Better. And
I said, well, all the metal that's in there from when it was loose is like lapping compound on valves now. I go, you're mirror finishing everything.
Micro polish.
Yeah. So he was all happy though. He's like, dude, man, I made it. No problem at all.
Yeah. So all I got to say about this other issue that we're looking at on the screen here is I hope you shaved over a garbage can. Because if you shaved over a sink, dude, you're not gonna have any plumbing when you get home. You're gonna have like a conglomeration. I saw the picture you online. Like, what happened to Brian?
Yeah,
someone took a hedge trimmer to him.
Just sporting that stash.
And I was telling Mike at the shop. I showed him a picture of you from the expo, and I said, "Look," he goes, "Wow, Brian looks different." He says, "Wow, yeah, he looks different." I said, "Don't worry. By now, he's got the beard back. It's been a couple days."
Couple days, it's starting to come back. Yeah, so
tell us all about the expo.
Yeah, how was the expo?
Really good.
Grab up the CEO and straighten him out.
Yeah,
we had a good conversation. So like I said, it was really good. Of course, it's all about software and the computers in the car. I mean, that's such a huge part of this business now. And we had I had posted on my Instagram at Hey Maco Man. We had a hands-on training. We had a room with over 200 scanners, and we were able to go through and see the new setups. And a lot of it is just where like the old format might have if you had to back out of something, you would have to hit the button once and then hit the button again to get back to a screen. But they've rewritten it where now it's like it's a shortcut of some sort. So you're not overlapping or going through the screens. And
Good.
I will admit our system was a little difficult sometimes because it would ask you, do you want to do this? And you would say yes. And of course, to exit, you think you're exiting that particular program part, but you were exiting the whole system.
Oh, shit.
So then you had to go back in and relog.
That's
And of
frustrating.
course, yeah. And that's what, they're just over the period of time, they get those bugs out of it, which
Right.
makes it really nice.
So they came up
And
with a more user-friendly interface.
Right.
yeah, it just keeps getting easier. And that's one thing with ours being not Android, but like an iPhone.
iOS.
Yeah, iOS. With that being that way, it gets us friendlier and friendlier. I mean, it's just so much easier to work with.
Have they instituted like swiping? Because with the iOS,
Oh,
it could be
yeah.
like
Oh,
swipe
yeah.
one way to go back, swipe the other way to go forward.
Right.
Well,
right.
that's one of the biggest problems that we have, because the older guys with the Snap-on is used to that little knob that they rolled yes or no,
Yeah.
and it's just trying to teach the older guys that you can touch the screen, because some guys freak out the first time they touch the screen, and it's like, oh my god, and
Yeah.
So and we did what was that?
I was going to say, just to interject on that, and I'm the guy, I get into these newer cars that I got to move, and I can't make the freaking radio work, and then my buddy Mike, he's in there just pushing. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch, you got to touch the screen. I'm looking for a knob.
So we've also got into we've really cleaned up the TPMS.
I saw a lot of stuff on the TPMS scanner. They did a lot. There was a lot of posting of that.
Before, you had your TPMS, and then you still had to have a scanner.
Yes.
So that with some of the other cars to get into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So we've kind of made it all in one. We've lowered the price. It's, all in one was like $2,500.
Uh-huh.
And for $800, you have a scanner now that does virtually everything on that. And we also have the actual TPMS parts on the truck too now. So there's two main frequencies that you can use, and that does again 90% of the coverage.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get into that. And like I said, software. I mean, I know it doesn't sound super exciting.
No, but it's
the
necessary.
stuff it
Everything.
does, it does is incredible.
I mean, I was just looking at some $800 symbol packages, so it's like it's all relative, It's really all relative.
Oh yeah.
But no, you got to have that stuff.
That stuff can scare you.
I know. Yeah.
And of course, we had the some of the most common tools have changed design. You take like a ball joint puller. We've gone with the dual function, so it has two pivot points. So literally, you can do it with a hand wrench, because of the pivot points. They've they used the word math, or changed the points and made things easier for us.
I still have my forks, and the guy's like,
Go
"What
out
is
there.
that?" I'm like, "The pickle fork, dude. Is this what you use?" No.
So, and then going into our battery line, our cordless line is ever growing. And of course I'm hoping we're almost to the end point of not changing things, but the batteries in those things change.
Yeah.
And you get more duration and more power. And
that's
like
a pain in
computer.
the neck.
It is.
The constant issue with batteries. Like I got these
DeWalt.
DeWalt 20s. Well, now there's a 20 something. It's like a 20X or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And the battery doesn't fit.
It's similar like the
So-
Milwaukee Fuel. They're different.
The tools that I have, these 20s, I have to use this. I'm going to call it first gen 20 volt battery.
Yeah.
So now you could go to any tool store and they've got these, and they have a new 20 volt, but the new 20 volt will not fit the old 20 volt.
Sometimes they'll come out with a conversion adapter.
Yeah,
Milwaukee did that, right?
we did that with our 20 volts with the new battery.
Yeah.
The problem is that you cannot use a old battery. You can't use it the other way around. You can't. So if you only have one source to go, or eventually you're going to have to change everything because
Right.
And that's the only thing that makes it really hard. I've got a couple of guys that want to change, and I got a guy sitting there on the screen that's waiting for his.
Yeah.
So when I do the changeover, that I have some good stuff, but
Right.
I just hope that I told them, hey, just stick with something for a while so you can, because I hate selling it. Then next week if something new comes out, I mean, it makes it hard.
I saw something that you guys make, and I'm at a loss for what it was. I have so much stuff on my DVR. Mm-hmm. It's one of the shows that Matco is like a major sponsor on. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was Hot Rod show or
it would be one of the older shows that were on Spike. So Detroit Muscle,
no, it's not.
Engine Build.
Well, yeah, it's Detroit Muscle, but it's a new episode.
Yeah. But I'm saying those four, the 4-wheel drive and the old truck, the one with the trucks, and those four were our biggest ones.
Yeah, it's Detroit Muscle, and there was a tool they were using. They were working on a Mustang, and it's a Matco tool, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get that. So
you don't remember what it was?
I can't. No, I'm shot. So I will go back on the DVR. I specifically, because with all of these shows that I record, I watch and I delete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
watch, delete.
That was the newer
episode,
not the newer Mustang, but it was a Fox body one, right?
The one that they did was primer, and then they painted it black and they scratched through it. It's that car.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff they used. I mean, I tell you, what you saw on my Instagram, Tommy from Detroit Muscle was here, running around on the export floor, and was talking to him. And those guys are great, and they've, like I said,
I know Mark really well. Mark used to live here.
Oh yeah,
because he worked for Muscle Mustang and Fast Forward magazine.
Oh okay.
He was a writer, feature writer.
Right.
And Evan Smith, he was the editor of the magazine. That's how all those guys wound up down here. Mm-hmm. All those magazines moved from New Jersey to this part of Florida, where their headquarters were. And then the headquarters moved to California, and everybody basically went their own way. Mark wound up getting the TV show. But they were doing a Mustang that was a couple of big sponsors. And Evan called me up, and he's like, hey, you want to come out of retirement? I'm like, well, what do you mean? Because I need somebody to TIG weld a chrome moly cage in a project Mustang we're doing. So I was like, yeah, all right, no problem. So he says, come down. Just, let's do something. So they shot a bunch of feature stuff on it and some live video that they posted on their Instagram and their Facebook page, and gave me credit in the articles on it. It was pretty wild. It was cool. So we had a good time. So that's how I met Mark there, and then I saw him at the SEMA show with Tommy. They were walking around in SEMA. He was like, oh my God, how are you? I'm like, dude, I watch you on TV every week. He's like, thanks.
Yeah, it's funny.
He's a good guy.
No, but that's a great way, John. I mean, I found a lot of stuff like that too by watching shows or now like with social media. And I've hit Brian up for a lot of stuff that way. Like, hey, I saw this. I want it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go through that episode this weekend, and I'll find out, and I'll contact you.
Yeah, let me know. Like I said,
it's something common that you sell, but I was like, oh wow, I got to have that.
Yeah.
I just can't remember what it is.
There was a lot of stuff, and of course, I'm not really good with body stuff, but or I'm still learning after all that. But a lot of aluminum repair stuff. Of course, everybody's going to that, and there was a lot of interesting tools for that because you're not supposed to mix it, and you got to watch out for metal fibers from a older metal hammer striking aluminum. If anything breaks off, it causes problems down the road. And so there was a lot of stuff. I kind of wish we had some more classes on some of that stuff for guys that just don't know, so that you can, talk to people or, get some more information, because that stuff, it just helps you sell the stuff,
Yeah.
But
Do you guys sell any of the tools that they use to fix, like those urethane bumpers and things like that?
Oh yeah, plastic
yeah,
welders.
Yep, plastic welders, and
Yeah.
we have different. Most of them are. We have a plastic welder, and then we have like a plastic staple gun. I sell a lot of those.
Staple gun's very big in the body shops.
Yeah.
The shop I work at, they have both. They have both of them.
Right. And the staple gun, the plastic stapler thing is probably the most common, or I don't want to say the easiest, but I think it's more friendly or easier to use for those guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, it's kind of, someone asked me once last summer why I didn't have those big, heavy, I don't even know what the hell they're made out of. It's like the big rubber flaps over the inner fenders that cover the upper A-frame on a GM, on the A-body. And I was like, well, I got them. The problem is they stapled them from the rubber into the metal. I said, so to recreate that, I'm like, I didn't feel like doing it by hand. It was going to be like, it's a pain in the ass. I said, I just left them off. It's like that.
Yeah.
So I got to say, Brian, it looks like vacation's kicking your ass, man. You're looking tired.
Yeah.
They're buried. I have a brand new set for the Camaro.
Well, I was saying I couldn't recreate the staple, so I left them off.
Yeah.
But,
and we fly out really early tomorrow. When we set up this adventure, we never really looked at the times, and of course, when you do that international time traveling, when you lose 3 hours and gain 3 hours, it kind of.
Well, you'll get it back coming back. You'll get it.
Don't worry.
You'll be exhausted when you get back.
Oh, he's exhausted now. I've never seen him look this tired before. He almost looks like punch drunk.
We walked. I can't tell you how much. I tell you, I don't even think my step counter in my phone works anymore. If it said, F you, I'm taking a vacation because it stopped. And it's
I
like I said,
when I go to Vegas, I somehow manage to stay on Eastern time.
I know people who do that. Yeah, they just stay. So Brian,
sometimes,
when's the last time you were away that you had a vacation like this?
It was last Expo at Vegas.
Last year?
We were in Vegas. Yeah.
That's good. It's you deserve the time off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Midway, man.
And it was 7 years since the last time we were in San Diego.
Okay.
So that was the last time we had an Expo. Yeah. And we did the Midway then, and I'm really surprised we did it again, but that was incredible, sitting on the flight deck, eating, having dinner, and seeing all the planes, and they had the fireworks show afterwards for us, So it's not every day you get to say that you ate on the Midway.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty good.
You have any good
see anybody pooping in the street?
Yeah. How about good Mexican food in San Diego? They got some good Mexican stuff down there.
Well, I had a great lunch today. Me and Jenny had fish tacos, and we sat out and watched. They had what's the other one? The USS Lincoln is in port for being service, and then we were sitting across the Midway, and so like I said, you sit out there and miss catch a helicopter or you catch something going on, but it's a constant flyover. There's always something going on.
That's awesome.
And we did a little bit of walking around, and I did look to see where I was stepping, and it was fairly clean. We didn't have too much issue.
That's good.
I noticed today when we were in the little seaport shopping view, a home business end of it, and within 30 seconds there was 3 maintenance crew and a police officer.
Yeah, when you
So
any of the tourist areas, they're on it. I mean, you got to go off to the side streets and you'll find it. It's like that Hotel California video. When I watched that thing, I was like, you got to be kidding me, man.
Yeah.
Stuff. Bad news.
So, but like I said, it's been really nice. The weather's been great. It's kind of hard to think that we have to come back tomorrow, and I think it's supposed to be like 38 or something.
You know what? It's been up here. It's been very windy, and even today it was in the 40s. I had to walk across to deliver a check across campus, and there was a headwind, like a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, and my hands were freezing. It was fun, but it felt like 20.
Cold
so
too.
In this for a couple more days. So yeah, you're gonna have some shock when you get back.
It was cold here today. It was, I think it was about 51 when I left around 7:30 this morning. And it didn't get up above 66. And tonight it's supposed to get just north of me, like freezing, 32.
Really?
Wow.
So I'm going to wake up to, they're saying I'm going to wake up to like high 40s tomorrow or low 50s.
Yeah, with 33 right now with 33 degrees, but it feels like 20. So I believe it.
See, I don't have any wind. There's no wind.
Yeah, we had a lot of it. In fact, gale warnings. We had gale warnings up here.
We went up and we went up to Disneyland yesterday and walked around and
so some Star Wars stuff I see.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting, and like I said, but could not get over how many people when we did it the last time. It was like me and Jenny just had the park to ourselves. It was because it was middle of the day, you're middle of the week or whatever, and I don't know what was going on, but that place was packed.
Wow.
I tell you, man, it's crazy. So no problems there.
So what was there anything new or talkable on the hand tool front? I mean, I know hand tools are just kind of common these days, but I mean, ratchets, wrenches, combination sets, anything that's interesting.
Well, the big thing, and we had a lot of movement with the our pro line stuff that removed, locked or stripped fasteners. So we have a whole bunch of more wrenches coming out. I think last year's expo, I had the demo of that one wrench that had the cutout. So they've expanded those to extra long, medium, and we've also expanded it into the sockets. That's been a really big thing about a lot of twist sockets,
like a
stuff.
turbo socket type thing,
right?
Yeah.
And then going back just to the socket part of it, a lot of the stubby stuff, like the set that you got, Ray.
Yeah.
That's been a really popular stuff. So we had, I don't know, I think it was like 8 or 9 more that will be coming out on that for that. So it's just for tight spots, I
tell a lot of guys now, I said, back in the day, you needed basic stuff, short and deep sockets. Now there's mids, and you got like a set of Allen drivers, but now there's long ones. I got the long ones come in real handy. So now there's like shorter ones, and now there's little stubby ones. So like there's like 4 sets, and then you need metric and American, of course, if you work on everything. And really,
we also
I need a bigger toolbox.
Yeah, well, we got a deal for you. You see that Joker box, right?
Yeah, that was
I posted.
Yeah,
man, that's cool. Crazy. But going along the line, we also extended our extra long chrome 1/4-inch sockets.
Okay.
So the ones for
an 8-piece set, I think.
Yeah, it's up to it came out with 4, and now it's up to 9.
Okay,
we went from 7 to 15.
Right.
And that was designed for your German cars going through the double wall panels.
I know the body guys use them to get through the bumpers and they put a nut, John, inside, like you got to go through the bumper, but it's like 10 inches deep. So you need this giant long socket. And then,
because if you try to do it with the extension, well, a lot of times, like your locking extensions are too fat, won't go through the hole. Or if you use a regular one, you're coming back. If you knock your socket off,
now it's inside.
That tends not coming back.
No,
Right.
no.
And
Cut a hole in
rattle.
the top of that pump.
You got to rattle for life.
Yeah.
I gotta
So-
I need 6-point small wrenches.
Oh,
That was one of
stubbies?
the
Wrenches?
things when well, no, small sizes. When we
Oh.
were when Lou was taking his drive shaft out,
Oh, he
one
had
of,
those little.
one of the 7/16 bolts got chewed up somehow. So
Okay.
I didn't even realize it, but all of my like small stuff up to like 1/2 inch is the closed end wrenches. They're all 12-point.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough angle on his drive shaft to use a socket, even a short one.
Yeah. Now, I worked
So-
on a Jeep and I had to take the drive. Another guy grenaded a U-joint and I had to take it. And it was a 5/16 hex, but a 10 millimeter fits 5/16.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember if you had a 10
But
millimeter.
he had a little bit of a problem trying to use a wrench.
Yeah.
And then I found a short socket, and we were able to put an extension on it and kind of
Right.
like tap it on and then crack
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And then he was able to use a
Yeah.
wrench. But
Yeah, that's the-
and I'm looking. I have a drawer. See, my toolbox is a disaster. I'm not one of those guys that has all those really nice dividers
Yeah.
that you put all your different
I'm a
wrenches in.
socket wrench rail guy, man. Everything's got to be.
I have like a compartment that I made at the front of the drawer
Yeah.
that has like the tiniest little wrench all the way up to say 1/2 inch,
Uh-huh.
and then anything larger than 1/2 inch all the way up to like I have like a 2-inch open end.
Yeah.
It's all in the back part,
Right,
and you
right.
got to dig through all this
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and looking and looking, and like everything that came up was 12-point.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I never even realized that I'm just buying wrenches to have, and I'm not looking for 6-point.
Right,
They're
right.
12.
Now you know.
Larger stuff I have 6-point, but yeah, I'm gonna have to get a set from you.
Yeah.
I need like up to 1/2 inch, or maybe even 9/16. I have some 9/16 6-points, but I need like 1/2 inch and down.
1/2 inch and down. Yeah. Yeah.
So even if I have
They
to buy them
also,
individually, I don't care.
It was really nice. We have a tool grid storage system. I don't know if you've seen any of them on. I'd like to get one posted on, but it has a grid and you screw in places for your sockets and your wrenches and your storage compartments and so forth. But the way it's designed will literally, whatever you have in your system now will use half of what you got. I mean, it's just so compact and how you can put everything in. And it was such a time consuming because you had to hold everything there and put a screw in. And of course, they redesigned that so that it's all a lot faster.
Right.
And hopefully more guys that had already bought them will kind of finish their project. But it's really nice when you open a drawer up and everything is all laid out and nice and you can find everything.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
the
on
only other thing I have to say, that's one of the biggest thing, and I can't believe they kept it from so many people, is that Motor Magazine. We
I have
are
it right here.
Yes.
I
are
thank
the
you. I printed this. Yeah.
We are the only source for motor information.
Got to talk to you about that, man. I'm a
And-
big motor fan. I got a lot of.
I'm
the
just
old
telling you that if you're a state inspector, if you want to know airbags, door panel clips, labor times, all that stuff, and motor, we are the only source or the only place to get that stuff, which is phenomenal. So-
where I got this from was I subscribed to Motor Magazine. I get a subscription to digital and Motor Information Systems. They sent out the email that was advertising this. So I'm like, okay, when's Matco? Because I'm on the Matco feed still. I'm like, I didn't get anything from Matco, but I got it from
No.
Motor. But
It
you
was
guys,
all you'll start seeing it now, but I
Good.
mean, it was really quiet. I don't know why it was so top secret, but
that's a big deal. That's
it's
a big
huge deal.
Yeah.
And timing chain and timing belt.
That's right.
I mean, there's all your emissions books, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a
Phenomenal.
huge deal. So
Very
that's really good. So,
That is.
but
So I've been on a quest, and I think I got to go visit Jesse James to get my quest fulfilled. Because what I bought, I didn't even know that this was going to come into play as much. About a year ago, on the Snap-on truck, they had a set of stubby sockets, and it was like you buy the American, you get the metric free or whatever. So I did that, and there was a ratchet that came with it. That's it's a very shallow head, and the body of the ratchet, instead of being round, is flattened. It's oblong. And I was waiting to use it on something, and it was like months before I even use it. I'm like, I spent $300 something on this thing. I better damn well use it. So I did use it a few times. Just 2 weeks ago, I was working on my daughter's car, changing shocks, and the bolt and nut, it was up in a well up on the RAV4, and that was the only socket and ratchet I could get up there. And I said, perfect. The problem was the ratchet's only about 5 inches long, and I needed it to be like a foot long or more. So I said, okay. I saw my tool guy last week. I asked him, I said, do you guys make another ratchet or any other ratchets longer that are flat? And he says, no, I don't think I've ever seen that. And I searched and couldn't find it either. So I think I'm going to have to go visit Jesse James and have him like hot forge it and then squish it down for me. Because I'm telling you,
that's crazy.
That flat ratchet really is what I needed. There was just no room. And like you said before, the way vehicles are these days, everything is getting tighter. We all know that.
Tighter and tighter. Yeah, it's crazy.
John Evans said that when I had him on the radio show about a month or two ago. We were talking about the Mustangs and all, and he was talking about one of the new ones, and I mentioned how everything is so tight in those cars, and he said, yeah, basically I think what the engineers do is they use the water test. They pour like 5 gallons of water on top of the engine, and depending how much leaks out of the bottom, they put more stuff in there. So to stop. That's how they decide like price.
Yeah.
So yeah, flat ratchets. That's one of my
so. And that was another thing that you talk about wrenches. We had a whole bunch of skinnier wrenches and different angles instead of just being, like a normal wrench. The heads were off a certain degree. Same with the end point, the box point, and so forth. So I don't want to make it like a real S shape or anything. It just were off a few degrees. So
I know
that was coming.
I know that on the like the Snap-on wrenches, they always use the 30-degree offset on the box end. But I think you could also buy a 40 or 45 degree. I don't have any of those.
Yeah,
one of the
that wasn't the height. I'm talking about on the sides.
Oh, you're talking about the side bend. Okay.
Oh,
side
yeah, because they were like angled down or whatever,
okay.
Or a couple degrees.
It was weird. I have some wrenches where here's the opening, and the arm is like at a 90-degree angle.
Oh, okay. That's a specialty wrench for something,
almost like an ignition wrench kind of
thing. Right.
Yeah,
ignition wrenches were 90. Yeah.
And I have some other wrenches that are like that, like all the way up to, I think, like 5/8 of an inch. But what is the difference?
Like I say, it had to be a special.
Is it because you're trying to do something in close quarters or something? I mean,
let me ask you, are they chrome or are they like a blackish gray color? Okay, because I know in the machine shop we had some that were like a blackish gray color to work on the mill and the to do like tool changes on the tools. But I don't know.
I don't see any difference in using it.
Who's the manufacturer of the wrenches? Do you remember?
I got some Snap.
Probably Mac.
I got some Mac stuff. Yeah, I have a little everything. I got some Harbor Freight, unfortunately, but
you use it
twice and throw them away.
Just wear eye protection, John. Just wear eye protection. That's all I gotta say. All right, guys. Well, I wanted to come in and let you know that everything's good, but me and Jenny are going to run out to get something to eat, and I just wanted to say hey, and when I get back, I'll call you on your show, Ray.
Okay, very good, Brian.
Cool. Go have some pizza.
Yeah, safe trip home.
I think we're going to go out to Kansas City and have some barbecue.
Some barbecue. There you
go.
Barbecue.
Just stop in at White Castle.
Do they have those?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got that.
So I hope you talk to the guys, because I'll use my color on color Matco mug. See, here's a curved wrench.
Yeah, nice.
Of course, they put the Matco logo in black so you can't see it. But
yes, those
Good.
I had a list. I had my I already packed it.
Had a hit list.
I had my my book with my list of all the vendors that we needed to straight out in a few things.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Macco Man was in the house. He goes, I want to straighten you guys out.
Yeah.
East Coast is here, buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, man.
Nice.
We gotta clean some of this. We gotta step up the game a little bit. So
Clean out the swamp a little bit, right?
Did you talk to
so
them
but
about the T-shirt designs and releases?
yes, I
Right.
tell you, man. We well, there was, and luckily, well, there's a lot of other guys that have the same feeling. So it's kind of a bombardment. You almost kind of like these guys are walking into the lion's cage. You know what I'm saying? But they signed up for the job. So
Nature of the beast, man. If you're gonna do that stuff, you gotta take input. You gotta have
yeah. Well,
You gotta-
actually, I had several of them that were really surprised because they don't well, like you said, if you don't get any feedback or if they don't know what's going on,
Sure.
then they can't make any kind of changes or whatever. And
Yeah.
some of them were really surprised because they were like they had no idea that was happening or that was actually going on. And so like I said, hopefully, of course, things just don't change overnight, but hopefully it all starts going in the right direction.
Let me ask you, did you happen on a long shot to be able to meet up with Macco Michael from Mississippi?
No, I looked for him, and I thought that we had communicated or we had texted each other once before. I mean, after that, and I thought I put his name in and saved it, but I couldn't find it. And it was really funny because during the NCB or the national meeting, one of the clips was Michael and Coons Trucking. So Clay was talking about Macco.
I see. They put a really nice thing up that Clay reposted. Macco gave him a real nice testimonial.
Yeah. And so they talked about that. And it was kind of funny because I was loading stuff on the Instagram. And the guy that was sitting next to me said, "Is that the same guy that was on the video liking your stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, Clay." And he goes, I said, "Well, yeah. I mean, that's the same guy."
He was talking about those connections, or making those connections are made all over.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, do you know that Macco guy?" And I said, "I've only talked to him. I've talked to him twice, but I didn't get to see him." So I was really surprised. I know he was here, but
he was probably in the lobby signing autographs, something like that.
Yeah, with a few cold ones. We kind of we drained this place. So
Good.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
Well.
So what's it like being like with all guys that do the same thing you do? I mean,
Horror
that's
stories.
yeah.
Man, there's so many stories, and
And I bet you a lot of them are similar too. Deadbeats, guys that disappear.
yeah, and it's funny because this year we had 1366. It was 1,366 distributors
Cool.
out of 1,800. So you double that because they're bringing their better half. And some of them brought kids and family members. Wow. So, there was a lot of people. And usually this was the first year that there wasn't a lot of veterans. There was mostly all the newer guys.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of nice when you're walking around and somebody will say, "That guy over there is the shopping cart guy." And they're talking about me because I take a shopping cart into my dealers. I load up everything into a shopping cart and I go in.
Where'd you steal that shopping cart from?
Home Depot.
The wind blew it all the way across the parking lot,
You're
down the hill,
Walmart
and around the corner.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny. And then they come over and they say, "Oh, we saw you at our district meeting. The guy took a picture and you have a shopping cart. Well, how do you do that? Or why do you do that?" And then you just talk about it and tell them.
See, but you got to see, this is the thing. Like, anybody from New York would do this. Like, I think you have to tell them, like, listen, yeah, you know, I use it on the weekends too. Like when I'm not doing a route, I use it on the weekends, kind of walking down like house to the street. That's like my transport. You know, and I sell pretzels out of it. But, you know, I cut the bottom off and put an engine on it. I weld it back together just so I could do my. Some idiot's gonna believe you. I mean, you just
I know.
package it the right
But
way.
you know,
You're trying to lie
but
to anybody in the world, and they'd give them money. You know.
oh yeah.
You
Well,
laugh
you know, and like I said, you talk to those guys, and you know, like I said, it's great, and of course, you know, even us old guys can learn from newer guys, you know, when they do something or whatever. So it's interesting.
But I'll
and
tell
like
you,
I said,
I will say this, and I had nothing against Matt Michael because I think he's a good guy and he's got a good career. But you know, the newer guys don't work like the older guys. And case in point is that 3/8, that quarter-inch drive ratchet with a 3/8 head. He didn't want to do that. He didn't feel comfortable doing that. He made it like that, and then you have no problem doing that. So again,
yeah,
not that one is right or wrong. I'm not. I mean, I think your way was right because obviously I bought one of them, and I wanted it. But you know, so I respect his decision on that. That's not a problem. But it's just a way of thinking, I think. And as you're in the game longer, you tend to maybe move the ends out a little bit more and
right, yeah.
accommodate. So yeah, there's something to be learned both ways. I think there's always something to be learned.
So that was all worked out.
Pipe, and young guys can learn how to swap the guts of ratchets. So everybody learns.
So, but you know, like I said, it was interesting, and I was really surprised because when they had that start, I have to give Matco credit because normally they're not like that. So I was really surprised. Well, with having another shop like that or taking that type of endorsement like that from them and so forth. So hopefully, so but it was good.
Yeah.
Oh well. All right, guys. I will check with you guys definitely next Thursday. I'll be in touch with you, Ray.
Very good.
John, seriously, man, just let me know what you want.
As soon as I know,
get it to you.
I'll get it. Yeah. I'll
Okay.
get you whatever it is.
We're going to go out and have some food and get ready for we wake up what time? 4 a.m. So
yeah, so it's like 6 o'clock by you now, right?
What here? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So we get up at 4 and start our travels back. So
he really thinks it's 10 p.m.
Right.
Yes. It is.
All right, we'll go eat. Safe travels, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, guys. Good seeing everybody. Take it easy.
All right,
bye-bye.
See you later.
Oh, that's cool. That is neat.
Oh yeah.
Those things, it's like going to convention. I've done very little of that kind of stuff in my life, but I know people who do, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
This is the first year in like 15 years that I'm not going to the largest pet convention, which is right over here in Orlando.
Really?
You go every single year.
What's the impetus? What's the thrust of the pet convention? Is it to sell?
Well, it's called the Global Pet Expo.
Okay.
It's anything and everything to do with the pet industry.
Is that to imply that fish fall into pets?
Yeah, fish or they imply fish. Or pets.
I mean, I've had fish, but I never thought of them as. I guess they're pets, right?
It's a business.
Yeah, right. So yeah, obviously you could sell
all these things.
I mean, sure. I mean, obviously that's the place to go and put tank displays and all stuff and accessories.
They have all the companies that make equipment for the aquarium industry, and then you've got all these livestock companies. Have these displays. They set up these giant displays with all of the fish that they sell.
Right.
But the biggest chunk of the pet industry is cats and dogs.
Okay.
And you get tired of walking 3 or 4 aisles in a row, and they're selling fresh baked dog treats that look like cupcakes.
Yeah.
There's people that sell all kinds of clothing to put on your little teacup poodle.
Sure.
That kind of stuff just makes me sick,
And it flies. I'm sure it flies out the door.
Oh God, it's insane. But that's like a whole oversaturated market.
Yeah.
But I get enough trade magazines. I know what new equipment's coming out in the aquarium industry. I don't need to go.
Back when I was doing my fish, I went to a show at the Coliseum like that. It was, some kind of a pet,
They have
and
a
I
big
ended up,
pet show every year at the Coliseum.
and I'm telling you, it was just like going to a tool show or a swap meet.
Exactly.
I had to buy a 50-foot drain hose for my suction for my and I never used it. It's sitting in the other room still. Like I've never used it, but I had to have it because it was like a great deal.
Yeah.
Give me that, I'll take that. Fucking idiot.
So yeah, I didn't go this year. We worked. I did a whole bunch of other stuff, and then I mean, if it's a car trade show, I'm there.
Well, did you use it? Did you use it for the business? Did you usually sell and display?
I don't. No. I go in as a buyer.
Oh, okay, as a buyer.
I don't have anything that would be for sale because I'm a service.
Right.
So that doesn't.
I thought you might have had like something to do with tanks, maybe.
No. I have companies that make them for me to my spec. And then there's different companies I deal with for the other equipment. There's everything. There's sterilizers, ultraviolet sterilizers,
ionizers,
ozone injection. I mean, we have all kinds of crazy stuff that we use.
I was a biofilter guy.
Yeah. So
Fluval.
Fluval's still around. Big company, big German company.
The four level filter. Yeah, I was using that. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
Good stuff.
Very good for freshwater stuff.
Yeah. Take it out, clean the stuff, and do a water change every week, partial water change every week. Yeah. And then I ended up getting the diatom filter and like micro polishing the water.
I have a diatom filter that's got to be about 25 years old.
That's what the glass. That's got a glass.
Glass, right? It's got the glass bell.
I don't remember if mine's glass or plastic. I know
mine's the original, so it's glass.
Yeah, that's the old one, right?
And it's got a big motor mounted on the top.
Yeah.
And you fill it with water. And you get a bucket and you pour the diatomaceous earth in it, and it sticks to the filter.
Yep.
The bag.
You charge it up.
Right.
Yeah. It's like just like the swimming pool. It's the same thing as the pool.
Something. That thing makes a tank crystal clear.
It micro polishes the water. Yeah.
When we did the TV show, all of the stuff that we're doing would always create a cloudy tank.
Oh yeah.
And they always wanted it clear after the fish got put in to do what they call the reveal, when they would call the celebrity over. Oh my God, look at the tank,
Right.
So they wound up building one because we needed such high volume. They bought the biggest Sears wet dry vacuum.
Oh wow.
And put a bag thing in it, and we put like a whole, like a 8 or 10 pound bag of earth in there. And then hook up the hoses, and those things are like 2-inch hoses.
Right.
And then put it up so it was sucking up and gravity feeding down.
Right.
You can clean 1,000-gallon tank crystal clear in about 40 minutes.
That's wild. Wow, that's a lot of turnover. Yeah.
That was probably one of the best things that the ATM guys ever invented.
That's right.
Giant industrial. Filter.
It's one of the things my wife has said over the years. She's like, how come like everything you get involved in, you have like all like it's got to be like you can't just do something casually. Why do you got to like buy everything that they have? I said, well, I don't know. Hey, I got a question. It's kind of an obvious freaking answer, but I found some guy threw out 2 TomToms the other day. I picked them up, and the batter heads, I've seen this before. The batter heads are so dimpled, and and I guess whoever it was just banging the hell out of them. It's got to be that they were tuned
sticks, and they were tuned loose.
That's what I thought. Tuned too loose, and they were using big sticks.
That and the fact that the guy probably plays like Animal.
Yeah, it was probably a kid just banging away. I was just watching a video. What the hell's the guy? Beto. He's not Brian Beto. He did a series of videos on YouTube. He did like the 20 best drum intros, 20 best guitar intros.
Yeah. I follow him.
So I just watched the 20 best drum fills tonight.
Yes. I saw that one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I just watched that just before I came down here. But then that offshot me to some
other. When he does the Phil Collins one.
Yeah, that was number 1. Yeah. 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 But I was watching another channel, and they did a thing on like the 5 best entry-level drum sets.
Oh yeah.
And they had some they had one I never heard of before. Metric, something like that.
Metric. I had my first drum kit was an Italian import,
Yeah.
Miazzi.
Okay.
It's a Miazzi Hollywood, and come to find out, that kit's probably worth like $30,000 today.
Oh wow!
I should have never sold it.
Yeah, definitely.
I sold it for a set of headers and 10-inch slicks.
Yeah, I sold my Slingerland set for a insurance payment, but they actually had a Yamaha kit in there. That was like around the higher of the entry level range, and a Pearl, and you could hear, like, obviously you could hear the guy did the same kind of beats on every kit, so it was similar. Right. And of course, the lower end kits, the cymbals just sounded like crap. And he even said, "Yeah, you can see their garbage."
Well, the lower end cymbals are sheet metal.
Yeah, they're just like brass looking sheet metal.
I always thought they sounded like absolute crap.
Yeah.
And then you find out that a lot of the younger drummers today are using that because they like that noise sound,
right?
As an effect symbol, as opposed to a really nice, Zildjian or.
Well, then when they got up into the middle, when they started coming up, they had Zildjians or Paiste, and I was like, okay, then now they're getting they're actually throwing some good stuff in. And I watched the video the other day on it was like the 15 or 20 best bass drum pedals. and I'm sitting there watching this. I'm halfway in at like 25 minutes. I'm like, who else would watch a video for 40 minutes just about drum pedals?
I love my DW 9000s.
That's of course they did the DW
expensive pedals, but I got them for such a deal. I got them I got both of them on eBay.
Oh wow. They had a lot to say about the strap drive, but yet there was only maybe 2 pedals that had one came with a strap and one was converted. I think it was a Yamaha one that was converted. And I found something else out. The guys that do videos say Yamaha.
Really?
Yeah. A couple guys already, and they're like, "We're going to do this Yamaha." I'm like, "What is it?" So I was like, have I been saying it wrong all my life?
Same company that makes the piano, same company that makes the motorcycles. Exactly. Yamaha.
Exactly. Yeah. But like a 40-minute video on just bass drum pedals.
I like my chain drive DWs, and I like
those are double chain, right? Dual link.
Yeah. You know what I like? I really love those direct drive Axis.
Oh yeah, the direct drive. Yeah. I mean, it's cool because
done by a guy that's a machinist. There's so many adjustments on
when they were showing that direct drive and how you could adjust. I'm like, it's a freaking accelerator pump cam on a Holley carburetor. It's like you could just take it, you put it in different slots and screw it in. And they show, like, I could follow that. That's a piece of cake,
Pretty amazing.
But yeah.
And then and there is that science to. I mean, I learned on Speed Kings, which is a compression spring.
Right.
And then that goes back to the guy that we had on the show that makes that throttle return.
Right.
Which is a
Hot Rod Innovations. Exactly. Exactly.
And compressing a spring is way more consistent and repeatable than stretching a spring.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was watching another guy who did a close-up video. He had like a DW. It had to be like a sample because it was like a bass drum, but it was basically just 3 inches wide. It sat on a table and he had the pedal on it. So he was really showing the pedal.
Yeah.
And then he got into all the differences of, like, of course, making the beater longer or shorter and talked about angles. And he got into the real science of the pedal. That was another like 30-minute video on the science of a bass pedal. I was like, there's like, once you start thinking about it, like, there's a lot. Are you a toe? Do you actuate with your toe? Are you like heel down, heel up? Do you slide your foot? And like, geez, man.
I see a lot of videos where they have a pedal camera. And you see these guys where they're doing this with their feet,
This guy slid his foot from the back up to the front. Yeah, it was
I'm a heel up if I got to get some speed going.
Right.
But then normally I'm flat-footed, heel down if I'm doing like jazz stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I play both.
Which is typically, that's the way it goes.
And when I do heel up, as I pick up speed, my foot slides down the pedal board.
Yeah.
So you're closer to the pivot point.
Right.
And then the other thing is you can't run your beater too high.
Right.
Stroke is so long that your pedal is real slow reacting.
It's a slower. Right. Now he was talking about
I
that.
never run. I have 24s, and I do
Oh,
not
yeah, it's a
run
big
my
deal.
beater anywhere near the middle of the head.
He was. I was waiting for him to talk about position, strike position on the head, and he never got into that. I wanted to hear what he had to say, but he did talk about length as opposed to like tuning the length with a different spring, because now you may want to have a faster action with a longer beater. And then he got into the whole thing too with the beater material, the felt versus the plastic, and again, it's all, I guess, he says it really comes down to choice. You got to play it and see.
I don't like those hard plastic ones.
Yeah,
because it makes the bass drum sound like a click track.
It's right.
But
it's more of a boom.
That's something that kind of came in. I'm going to say around the time that grunge music started coming up.
Okay.
They started using these hard plastic beaters, and they got away from an actual bass drum sound.
Right.
To this slap, bap, 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 and I'm like, it's kind of like electronic sounding, all of that music. Once grunge hit, I was like, well, I guess quality has gone out the window, along with flannel shirts.
Well, I'll tell you something. The tempo of grunge really grabbed me. I liked it's like some of the early Sabbath stuff where they just slow it down. It's like that slow, grindy, kind of dirty beat is kind of, I don't know. It spoke to me. It was like, yeah, that's kind of.
If you listen to the lyrics,
yeah.
All they do is cry.
Right. I know.
Their lives suck, and
right.
my God.
Well, I'm not a singer, so I'm not paying attention to the lyrics.
All of that stuff.
I know.
Like I bust on the kid that works for me all the time. I'm like, the music that you guys create and listen to today, it's like anguishing. It's like, my life sucks, the world sucks, my girlfriend sucks, it's like I have no future. It's like, you guys are useless.
What I thought was even worse was what I called the college music, like Blind Melon and Third Eye Blind, those kind of bands. It was like that sing-songy kind of college band, like, grow up already. It's like you were saying, they're like crying about everything. It's like, sing about a car or drag race. I was just watching some American Graffiti stuff, like behind the scenes with John Milner. Like, yeah, man, talk about like your 3/4 race cam or something, at least.
I found there's I didn't even know about it till tonight. There's a big slot car place over on the East Coast here, just below Orlando.
Wow.
And they make these videos. Like, some of it I think is stop motion, but it's done on a slot car track.
Yeah.
And they recreate, along with some actual scenes of the bullet chase.
Oh, I just saw something on YouTube. Yeah, someone just sent me a video.
They got a Charger. They got the 69 Charger. They got the Mustang. They're the right color.
I just got that yesterday.
And
I was like,
do all of that, and they interject.
And they intersperse the video.
Scenes. Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's a whole thing with Smokey and the Bandit.
Just saw it. Yeah. Okay.
And they actually have Snowman's truck.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. So now it's not far. I want to go to this place.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So they
My friend just sent me those yesterday.
Facebook page with all of these videos they made of all these scenes from movies.
Okay.
And they've actually built replica slot cars.
Nice.
They have I'm trying to think of the name of that Tumbler from Batman.
Okay. Yeah.
You've got a Tumbler. That'd be tough. It's like unreal.
I can see, like, obviously the the bullet cars are easy. You got a Mustang and a Charger, and so a lot of those cars were easy to get. But like, the Tumbler car has got to be
somebody
tough.
Custom built that body. I'm sure it was probably computer printed.
Sure, 3D printed it, right?
Right, get a file and print it.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool stuff.
But it was an awesome page. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
So I posted the bullet video. I thought that was really good. It's got to be about 8 minutes long.
Okay, I got a shorter clip of it, but yeah, that's pretty neat.
That's great. I'm amazed at what people do these days.
Yeah, it is.
Talented people out there.
Now I'm kind of involved in a project. My daughter just asked me last night. Her and her group have to build. They want to make this display, and she showed me a video where they use this like gauzy fabric, and you kind of suspend it, and they use fans, but they change the intensity and the direction of the fan to make the fabric go different ways.
Wow.
So in the video she showed me, there's a bank of fans facing up, and the thing is, it's like they're like stopping and starting and stopping and starting, so it's changing intensity. And I said, I had to ask a friend of mine today who works at Leviton, the company that I used to work for that does lighting controls. I said, John, how are they doing this? Because the fan motor is not a digital motor; it's an analog motor, and they slow down, they start up. There's a ramp time. So
Right.
I think they're keeping it running and then just increasing it. But like, what kind of timers are they using? They're using some kind of a trigger device. Think like a lighting trigger or something. So Omega, the company Omega, makes some things. So I'm gonna try and help her out and try and figure something out so they can do this project. But God knows, like, we got to see what the stuff is going to cost too. It's just a project. After that, it's done. You
cost.
Invest like $1,000 in this stupid thing.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what's good. It keeps you thinking. It keeps the mind going.
Yeah.
You got to keep the mind going, or else you just rust from the inside. So what's
Strange delivered the axles for the Camaro.
So I was just going to ask you, how's that project coming?
Got those. I got to finish the rear end this weekend.
Okay.
I slid the axles in, make sure everything fits.
Okay.
So that's good. Press the bearings on. So now I got to put the studs in.
Okay.
Put them in permanently. Put the rear brakes on.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for some stuff to show up. Flexible brake lines. -3 steel braided brake lines.
Right. Are they screw-in studs, or they're not press-in, right? They're
half inch by 2. So
okay.
they work with these wheels with those acorn nuts.
Okay.
And
that's the mistake I made. The Moser axles I put in my car, it's a screw-in 1/2 inch by 2, and I cut them down. I cut them so I could use a regular acorn nut. I wasn't going to use, I didn't need any open-end nuts, but I put them in, and then that was about it. I'm driving the car, and I heard a squeaking noise out of the right rear. Squeak. What the hell is that? Everything's brand new. Well, it was one of the studs now, that because when you tighten it, it now can loosen the stud, because the lug nut tightens in the direction that the stud loosens, and it backed out and cut a perfect arc path out of my rear wheel cylinder. And then so then I said, oh shit, like, yeah, I got to weld these in. So of course everything was in the car already. So I'm in there with the MIG welder behind everything, like tack welding these things in. And then I had guys tell me, no, don't do that, because it ruins the harden on the axle. And as many guys as I found that said to do it, there was just as many said don't do it. I'm like, well, what are you supposed to do? Right. I got to keep these studs, from turning. So because of that, I haven't had the rear wheels off my car. I'm afraid to loosen the lug nuts. I don't want to snap the stud. I mean, there's no.
If I get disconnected, it's because the battery on my laptop's getting low. I didn't bring the power cord out here.
You got a little fuzzy there once or twice. Well, it'll be an early night. That's all.
Yeah,
to go up and.
I just got a message that said your battery's low.
Yeah. I guess the other guys weren't around tonight, so yeah, Mike and Chris probably doing some schoolwork or whatever. So. And I'm gonna look to get Alana Scher back on the show from X Hot Rod Magazine. She posts a lot of stuff, a lot of pet stuff now, a lot of doggy stuff she does.
Oh God!
But yeah, she's still out in California. She does like a car spotting thing where she puts up like 4 or 5 cars that are in the neighborhood, and it's anything from, like, the other day there was from a '56 Chevy, like a '37 Ford, and then like an old pickup truck, and like this is all in the same neighborhood out in California. It's like, that's great. Mm-hmm. And it was one of a '63 Impala on the highway. And whether you can hear it or not, I don't know. I noticed it had no license plate. And she says, wow, we didn't even catch that. So I guess that'll be that. Because I'm not seeing anything. These guys didn't get in touch with me that they're not around. So we will, I guess we'll call that a night. And we will come back again next week. It's March 5th. I think already, right? Is that the date? And do more Playing in Traffic. Lewis Lee will be back. We'll have taken care of his duties, and we'll do it again. We'll roll it in next week. Catch up with John Brian after his traveling, and we'll we'll just kind of pick up where we left off. So for Lewis Lee and Chassis John and Brian, Matco Man Brian, and everybody else who's a participant, we will wrap this episode of Playing in Traffic and tune into Motormouth Radio on Sunday, motormouthradio.com. You can live stream it. And we always refer back to this show and talk about what goes on. We share stuff. And then we may have a few surprises. Who knows? So until then, Ray Guarino signing off. Good night.